So since posting our last video, which was 2 weeks ago on the 8th, we've seen the market gain 15% in that span. And it played out exactly as we said it would, hitting exactly those support and resistance levels that we talked about and becoming overbought at those exact times that we were saying it was going to happen. So I'm going to link that video right up here, or I'm also going to include it at the end of the video if you guys want to watch this through completely, get the scoop for this week, and then rewatch that previous video just to kind of see how we did what we're going to do today 2 weeks ago and how that all played out now that you can back test it. So let's go ahead and jump into the charts. We're going to talk about where the market is currently at, where QQQ is, the NASDAQ market, where we see the levels of resistance and potential reversals to the downside, what we're looking at, what we're paying attention to, and what we're expecting to see in the coming week or two. So let's go ahead and jump into those charts and dive right on into it. I'm going to share my screen, and that way we can jump into it and go into the details. So we have an arrow here. I'm going to go ahead and grab a drawing tool. That way you guys can follow along. So an arrow right over here is where we talked about that last level that we were at 2 weeks ago. And if you rewatch that video, if you guys have watched that video, we were saying that we're probably going to head up to this resistance level, which is this trend line at the top that the market continues to see a rejection at. So we're basically at that same level. Our target was 420 because we did predict it to push up a little bit faster than what it did. But we did see some resistance right over here that held us up, causing us to come back down, retest this exponential moving average, which is this blue line, and then finally see that push up to the upside. So that's kind of what we ended up seeing. Just going to clear this drawing. And this is currently where we're at now. So from where we were to where we're at right now, I'm going to look at this TQQQ chart, which goes up when the market goes up. So that is what we were trading. And I'm going to grab this measuring tool and show you guys the percent gain that we ended up seeing. So we made the video right over here on the 8th in the afternoon. So that next day, the market opened up right around 47.68. If you did jump into the market right after the video, or that next opportunity to those all-time highs, we saw 17.28%. But to the current price point that we're at right now, it is 15.07%. So in that span of 2 weeks, that was that potential for profit. And again, what we do is we trade TQQQ and SQQQ. So when the market goes up, when QQQ goes up, we buy into TQQQ and we capitalize on that move to the upside. When the market's selling off, SQQQ goes up. So when it's going down, QQQ is going down, we're buying SQQQ because that goes up when the market goes down. So that is actually kind of going to be a segue into what we're going to talk about today. Is the market peaked out? Are we going to potentially start seeing a sell-off? So I'm going to jump into a few key things that I'm paying attention to that I think that you guys should pay attention to as well. And that's going to kind of help with determining where we anticipate the market's going to be moving in the next week or two. So when we were going into that long position into TQQQ, what we were looking at is the fact that the MACD was converging to the upside, and we were starting to see plenty of room from where we were, which was about 50 on the RSI, to becoming overbought, which is 70 plus. And so that's kind of what confirmed for us that move that we saw to the upside. Now, 2 weeks later, what we're looking at, and we're looking at the daily chart, so keep that in mind, is we are extremely overbought. We're above 70 on the RSI. And as far as the MACD, we haven't seen that convergence yet happen to the downside. So what we are anticipating is the fact that we might potentially see a little bit more of a push to the upside to that 430 zone if we do continue to see more upside. However, we are starting to see the first signs of bears stepping in. So I do anticipate that with whether we go to 430 or we're at 424 and we start ending up seeing a sell-off, I do anticipate that at this point, we're going to probably start seeing a push back down to the downside, a bit of a correction in the overall market, which is definitely necessary. And the first level to the downside that we would be paying attention to as a level of support is going to be this 410 zone right here. So we saw this act as a resistance previously, not once, but twice here, that 410 zone, and actually a third time right over here. So that is a pretty decent support zone that we could anticipate to see in the coming weeks. So if we do start seeing selling, that's going to be that first level that I'm going to potentially watch for some support. If we do break below this level here, we're going to probably head down to this 395 zone right down here. And the reason here is found support here, and this was a previous resistance when we were going up to the upside. So first level is going to be 410 to the downside, and then if we break that, we're going to be heading to 395. And so instead of trading TQQQ or shorting TQQQ, because it's leverage, we're going to want to be jumping into something a little safer. So that's going to be SQQQ. And so when the market starts to sell off, this is actually going to start pushing back up to the upside. So we're going to be looking at another probably 15%. If we do end up seeing a move at least back down to where we were around that 405, 410 zone, that's another 15% that you're going to be potentially gaining if you do take advantage of this short play. Again, what we want to see is we want to see more confirmation, more bears stepping in. So if today was the first red day, we want to see another red day tomorrow for us to actually get a little bit more confirmation. As far as the indications go, the only thing we really have right now is the fact that we are approaching that resistance that we've been talking about, that trend line that acts as a resistance. So once we do hit that, we are fairly close to the point where we can say that we might potentially start seeing selling, but we need that second day of confirmation. Because it's Monday, we saw that first day of confirmation, but we need that second day to really solidify that. We're going to start seeing some selling happening in the RSI. We're going to see that push down to the downside, not be as overbought. So that's when you know that the market needs some relief, is when it becomes a little overbought. Again, we haven't seen that convergence happening yet on the MACD, and that's kind of what we want to see. So we really want to pay attention to tomorrow, maybe the day after, and kind of see where it goes. Like I said, we might go back up to this 430 zone. We are putting in all-time highs, so it's not out of the question. But at the maximum, we're going to probably see a resistance right up here and rejection. Or if not that, we're probably going to start seeing selling sooner. So that's kind of what I'm preparing for. I am looking at SQQQ. I am measuring out my potential for profit and my risk. And so at the end of the day, that's kind of how I'm preparing to take on the next week or two. Again, as you guys can tell, what we did last week worked really well. And so what we're doing this week is, instead of trying to kind of guess when to get out, we've already locked in profits. And instead, we're waiting to see that peak out and then start jumping into that reversal to the downside and take advantage of that. So that's what we're paying attention to in terms of QQQ, SQQQ, and TQQQ. We've locked in profits on TQQQ. We're preparing to jump into SQQQ. We're waiting for the overall market to peak out and give us some more confirmation. That is kind of what we're paying attention to. We've already established that the relative strength index is overbought, and we are really waiting just for that MACD to start converging to the downside and a little more confirmation in price action in terms of the fact that we get rejected here at this trend line and potentially start seeing sell-offs to those levels that I talked about earlier, 410. And then if we break that, the next level down is going to be 395. So that's kind of the breakdown in terms of the overall market, what we're watching, what we're going to be looking into, jumping into. So that's kind of just a breakdown of that. Again, do your own due diligence. This is a strategy that works for us, and I tend to share it on the overall market for everybody else to be able to kind of be a little more prepared in terms of jumping into the market. Because, you know, with all-time highs being put in, a lot of people are getting excited, and instead of preparing for that next move, they're trying to take advantage and squeeze out every penny out of this move that is already pretty much peaked out, in my opinion. So that's just a breakdown of the overall market. Now, I do want to jump into some key economic data and some earnings that we're going to be seeing this week. So we do have some big names coming out. Tomorrow we have 3M before market opens. We also have Netflix reporting. We have East West Bank. We have a lot of financial institutions reporting earnings in this general time, so pay attention to that. Wednesday, we got AT&T, and then at the close, we're going to be having Tesla reporting and IBM. Those are going to be big ones to pay attention to. Thursday, we got American Airlines, Alaska Airlines, Southwest Airlines. This is going to be a good time to kind of pay attention to how airline stocks react with some of the negative news that we've seen happening in the airline industry. It's going to be interesting to kind of see where the overall market is valuing these companies, right? And so at the close, we're going to be looking at Intel, Visa. We got Capital One, again, another financial institution, T-Mobile. And then Friday, we got American Express reporting. That's going to be a big one. Southside Bank, South Plains Financial, First Citizen, Bank Shares. So quite a bit of names to pay attention to this week. Today, we didn't have anything too exciting. We did have United reporting, so that kind of kicked off the airline industry earnings. So you guys can kind of look back at that and see how the market reacted, and maybe that can give you some idea of kind of where the market's going to be going moving forward. So that's earnings for you guys for this week, just so that you guys have an idea, and then some key economic data that's going to be released. So we are on economic calendar on investing.com. You guys can access this. It's very, very simple. Change it to your time zone, filter it down to just the United States, and that way you guys are going to be looking at exactly what I'm looking at. So today we didn't have anything too crazy. We did have the US leading index reporting. That did pretty well, better than expected. So that was the first thing today. Nothing too big going on tomorrow either. We have Wednesday is really kind of when things start kicking off. We got the S&P Global U.S. Manufacturing PMI being released at 6:45 Pacific time. We also have the S&P Global Services PMI being released at that same exact time. And then we have crude oil inventories being released. And so that's going to be the big ones for Wednesday to pay attention to. Thursday, we're going to have a bit more to pay attention to. We have continuing jobless claims. We have core durable good orders month over month. We have core PCE prices being reported, durable good orders month over month for the month of December. We got GDP quarter over quarter, and then we have GDP price index being reported and GDP sales. We also have initial jobless claims being reported and new home sales being reported. And we also have 7-year note auction being reported and the Fed's balance sheet as well. And then Friday, kind of closing out the week, we have core PCE price index being reported, core PCE price index year over year being reported, PCE price index month over month and year over year, both of those being reported. And then we do have a pending home sales, and then pending home sales index. Those are just some smaller things that you might pay attention to, but the bigger ones, like I said, there's going to be Wednesday and Thursday. Those two are going to be the big days to pay attention to, where the overall market is probably going to be reacting a little more aggressively to some of the news or some of the data that's going to be released throughout the week. So hopefully this was informative and helpful for you guys, get you guys a little more prepared for the week to come. Again, if you guys do have any questions about the breakdown of the technical analysis that I did, again, we're looking at some resistance happening here at this 430 zone at the most. If not, we're going to be seeing that resistance happening sooner and that sell-off happening sooner. So we're going to be seeing that push down to the downside. Again, our size is extremely overbought, waiting for that MACD to converge. And otherwise, that's pretty much a breakdown for this week. So hopefully this was helpful. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash that like button. We do these videos every single week. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe, like this video, and drop any questions that you guys might have in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys on the next one.